Another tough day at work today. Stephen Kirk, think I suck. Throw back a few wobbly pops, feeling down on my luck. And the interns ruin every show. But it's still where we want to go. It's Mike and the Minifans. 'Cause nobody had any better plans. You want to be with DC and our aim in a hand. The host can't see it's Mike and the Minifans. And nobody's seen real MHB. This whole thing is a sham. You never see him pee. It's Mike and the Minifans.
It's just us two?
It's just us.
Shit. Okay.
It's the John Show.
This is welcome to the John and John Show. Welcome to Mike and the Minifans, the show that the CEO or the host couldn't make it to tonight. We're just shocking. It's like we're talking
better for it.
Ability here, and these two assholes can't make it to their own show. What's up, buddy? So we this was an episode brought to be by higher powers. So we're here to talk about the emergency suspension that happened today. So what are your thoughts? Just overview, and then we'll get into the mud.
I mean, overview, after listening to both of them, I don't think we necessarily learned anything new. Like, if you paid attention to if you got in the mud on Twitter before the episode, I feel like every theory that people were throwing out there actually hit. Like, everything that people said, like, oh, they're either lazy or they didn't put it together till last minute, or they shouldn't have gone on vacation. It wasn't one thing. It was like a comedy of errors. And that's what I feel like I really took away from it. Like, I don't think they took it all that seriously, which surprises me from the Gus side of things. Like, this is kind of a debacle every year. And the Minifans are looking for it, and they're looking for something to kind of pounce on a little bit.
Yeah, well, they're all waiting for their, like, there's the crowd out there that says, like, they're still in their honeymoon phase and all this shit. They really haven't got the full frontal attack from the minute. Like, this is the full frontal attack. There will be darker days for them, don't get me wrong, but this is what, like, in the middle of your Christmas with your family, they strike.
Right, exactly.
You're warm in your bed. It's the coldest of nights, but it's like, this is when it all comes down to, you have to be on your shit 24/7. And something you brought up was being lazy, or that they loved it. And I mean, it's just, I love these two guys, but it's blatantly obvious they didn't love this project, because as a guy who edits video, like, there's a point of time when you're editing a video of something that, your brain thought of and you love, right? You're watching this video 40 to 50 times before this thing goes out to anyone. Like, there's things that you were probably good, but you've watched it so many times you're sick of and you cut. So, like, when I hear things like, I don't watch through the clips or blah, 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 that means you didn't A, love it, which is bad because this is their job, or B, take it seriously enough that you basically just built the foundation of a house and said, where's my house? And when you just put all the supplies there, you didn't go in there and build the fucking anything. So it's like, that's my 3,000 foot view of it. Now, you did say that you didn't really learn anything in this episode. I would say for a good hour, we didn't. Like, it was basically just hitting the tennis ball off a wall, So, but I think once you pass that hour mark, you really start to see, I would say maybe the callers kind of sparked it, or Dave or Justin, but you really start to see kind of some answers to some of your questions. So what were some of your main questions going into this episode that you think didn't get answered?
Well, it's not that questions weren't necessarily answered. It's just, it seemed like the mistakes were predictable, in the sense that, again, if you were saying to yourself, like, oh, it's not out yet, and then it comes out, it's 15 hours and there's 20 seconds of dead air, that's laziness. And then you ask them about it and he's like, yeah, I didn't QA it.
Okay.
And that's where we've talked about blame pie before, but if I'm going to do the blame pie, I'm going 70-30 Coleman.
Yeah.
I'm a Coleman guy. I'm also a Gus guy,
Yeah.
but I do think there's something to be said for chain of command. Like that is important. And again, I go back to the Q&A. Even if Gus has his portion as the A producer, once those clips or the audio, whatever it is, comes to you, like your job as the A producer is to QA that and to edit it and to push forward that final product.
Yeah. A big question out there is the lack of structure in their whole thing, their whole dynamic there. What is their dynamic? How do they even approach their daily job? Like there has to be a power dynamic there. And I do feel like a lot of people out there feel that there just is an absence of a dynamic at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that, Coleman being younger, probably never managing people in his life, like that plays a role. Power dynamic. And then I would say, I don't think there's a real communication structure at all.
Yeah.
I think a shared doc would go a long way. Like they have some sort of shared information that they're passing information back and forth, not just for a best of, just for every day. Like, hey, here are the topics I'm coming up with prior to walking into that studio and sitting down next to each other while Gus is running around and tapping everything in the room. Like it shouldn't be a surprise if they both have the same story when you walk into the studio the same day.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Dave brought this up a lot. Then I'm still going over like from the 30,000 foot view of this whole thing. I want to, after this, we'll break down. I kind of want to just go through the timeline kind of thing. I think Justin had the right idea of that. But just to respond to like the facts that commenter just brought it up. It's like Coleman did this and didn't edit it 30. It all falls down to the fact that this wasn't taken serious enough. But it wasn't taken seriously enough, but a guy was saying he was doing it. And the shitty thing is there's a guy that's more responsible than him. So I like this whole dynamic is so confusing and like people don't know who to point the finger at. I think that's the toughest thing. So I think if you go through the timeline of it all, it kind of makes more sense to kind of help guide people's hearts in which way they want to go, So I think Justin breaking down the timeline of it today kind of helped me kind of look at everything. So I think you have to go back to, we'll start just right from the beginning. Kirk said today they were hired in October. They've had 3 months to do this. So October happens and they're still in that honeymoon phase, but there are small things that like I could say about October. October, you're starting this new job. You should be in contact with Dave Cullinane about everything that has been done. And I don't think that happened. Do you? Like, do you think that process happened? No.
Nope.
And it's an important part of it because it sounds silly because it's like, well, what's that all for? The wrap up? It's like, no, I need to know what your process is to even make the clips and if it's, you want me to go make my own process, then fine. Then at least I know now at this point, when this shit happens, I could say, well, Dave kind of fucked me over it's not Dave's fault. It's just you're starting behind the 8 ball, which they were already setting themselves up behind anyways. But so I think October is kind of a huge point where you're in that and you have to think of their mindset during this whole thing. You're in that honeymoon phase. So like your brain's not constantly hungry to make content. So you're
just trying not to fuck up in the beginning too.
Not even that. You can fuck up because Kirk's going to have your back. He just made a decision. Like you're not getting fired in the first month period. So like you have to put that mindset in your head. It's like, this guy's got my back no matter what. It was his decision to hire me. I must be doing something right. Now, this whole time in October, it's bubbling that they're already setting the seeds to fail at I would say this is like, I don't know, their second or third big project alone, other than the merch for Black Friday, which they knocked out of the park, a project they clearly cared about, Right. This is a project no one cares about, but look at the shitstorm that happens if you fuck this up. So October, you have them kind of setting those seeds. Anything like on their early part of their tenure you want to bring up?
No, I think you're still figuring things out. And you made a good point. Like if you fuck up in the beginning, Kirk will have your back. Plus, we talk about when you fuck up, it's content. I think that's more so in the beginning. A lot of people have talked about, you can fuck up and it's content until it isn't. And we're probably turning that corner right now.
I don't mean to cut you off here, but I was part of the producer race. A big thing during the producer race is like, I mean, I was standing on the highest hill I could shout it at, and I'm like, I don't even know if these guys could fucking produce content. Like, I don't even know if they know how to use. And people would look at me and be like, that's not what matters. It matters what they do on the mic. And I agreed with them. You know what I mean? I always said, like, the production side of things isn't the important part of this. It's what's on the mic that's important. But these little fucking cracks that seep through and lead to this. So I think.
Yeah, but John, these guys aren't good on the mic either, though. Like,
well, I disagree there. I don't think Coleman has opened up to us enough. Like, my first instincts would have his brother, and I don't know why he hasn't been in the studio. Like,
right. I think they're saving brother, it. That's a fucking you have to think they're saving it.
Yeah, I would have him following me by my side at all times, first of all. But yeah, like, I think there's a wall we haven't cracked with Coleman yet. You know, if it's his sexuality, if it's his brother, whatever it is, there's a lot to Coleman that is still there. Gus, I think, has been good on the mic. There's a lot of, even if it's about how shitty he is on the mic, that's okay. It's okay to be the worst at something. Like, there's a lot of people that watch the worst of some things too. So it's like, I don't agree with you where they're not good on the mic. I think he did pick the right two for that case. Like, Coleman is a shell that we didn't crack. Gus is a fucking maniac. That's true. Gus can't even talk, though.
Gus can't talk. And the other thing that frustrates me is, like, when he finally throws the ball to Gus and says, okay, like, what's your topic for the day? Mm-hmm. He can't play the audio clip, or he doesn't have it ready, or it's on a different bookmark. Like, that frustrates the hell out of me, because I like the other stuff. Like you, like, I think Gus, like, bumbling around can be funny, but when he's about to bring up a topic that he brought up and he doesn't have the audio ready, that, like, as a listener, if I'm driving to work, like, that frustrates the hell out of me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as a producer, what you always, like, he has, first of all, Mutt brought it up. It's like, Gus doing clips by having timestamps is
insane.
Especially if, and there's a big campaign out there saying, I don't have YouTube Premium, but I'm here to say that I do. And the fact they don't have YouTube Premium there, it's like, okay, it's time. I want to play my clip. For some reason, they've already announced that they're about to hit audio, and then they now have to go to a timestamp, which is behind a paywall. So it's like, as a guy who, I know I'm not on the Kirk Minahan show, and I produce very small podcasts, but first of all, you shouldn't even mention your clip until your audio is ready to hit one button and play. So it's like, that's just bad instinct. That's a whole side point. It's like, yeah, that's just bad instinct.
But John, it's a side point, but don't you think it carries over into the topic of today? Like,
it is. It's these 1,000 little cuts that, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like a jealous dude that didn't get this job and be sour. It's like, actually, honestly, I'm looking at this straight up like, I feel bad for these two, but it's like, yo, guess what? You're going to deal with these 1,000 little cuts that I've had to fucking see over and over and not say something about. So I'm going to give them the full fucking force of what I feel, you know? So, but yeah, so bringing us back into the 1,000 little cuts thing actually ties into my whole court case that I've actually written up on my phone. But the timeline's important. So going into November, they're coming out of that honeymoon phase. Small things like Trung are brought up. Like, the producers are doing everyone will say they're doing a good job at this time. So now they have this philosophy in their head. They're doing a good job. The processes that they have made through October are working. You know, Coleman has this new no context thing. People are starting to pick up on social media, blah, blah, blah. But once again, that process of how their brains are working, I think, is already so skewed, because I don't know if they took those initial steps to set it up right, that I think November is a shocking time that we see what we saw happen here with the best of really unfold. So
do you mean, like, the lack of looking forward? Like,
looking forward. Looking forward is the most important. Remember, a producer is always looking forward, because they have a show tomorrow. You know, it doesn't matter what you did today. You have to worry about tomorrow type of deal. So it's like, I think this is the time, this dynamic that we talked about, that power dynamic that they have, didn't formulate. Okay. I think this is a time where Gus was getting a lot of attention because of this Trung thing. Coleman was the A producer, but Gus was the attention, right? So there was a power dynamic that wasn't built at this fertile time. You know what I mean? That it should have been. And a lot of the struggle we're still seeing, because after today's episode, I don't know if they're friends, if they communicate. I don't know what it is.
Like, I was going to ask you, do you think one of them was covering for the other today in any form?
Yeah, Gus was covering for Coleman.
You think so?
Yeah, but Gus can't. This is why I hate Gus for this whole thing. Gus, we are all looking for a reason to point the finger at Coleman. Here's a time we can. We can't because Gus's shitty fucking brain told them to say, I'm going to take full responsibility for the best of it. We can't really point at either of them because it's not Gus's fault. This isn't done because we have to hold ourselves accountable that Coleman's the A producer. But I think at this point in time, it's like, Coleman, you didn't produce this good. You're like, this was a bad from setting up the timeline to end production. It wasn't run good, and it kind of gives you a peek behind the curtain of this is how everything is run here. Yeah,
which I think it is. Gig, what do you think?
The one glaring thing, and I made this point like days ago, was that when these guys were talking about uploading this to YouTube. And I said, and it was kind of glazed over on the show. They were talking about the difference between uploading an MP3 and an MP4. And for all the ding dongs out there that don't understand what the difference is, MP3 is audio only, and MP4 is audio and visual. Yeah. And depending on your frame rates, depending on your upload speeds, a video first of all, you have to render that video. Yeah. From whatever Dropbox or whatever the fuck you're using.
Long story short, we're talking 15 hours of an upload. We're talking that
could be fucking days.
Yeah,
it could be a fucking day. Yeah. So I said I tweeted out, and most of the fans like, yeah, fucking whatever, Gig, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I was like, dude, this is gonna take a fucking month of Sundays. Why are you idiots thinking about doing a YouTube? Why are you putting this on YouTube? This should be audio only, and I just don't understand why either
I'm surprised
one of them
that
had the brains to jump on that point. This is ridiculous. I don't think Kirk necessarily put 2 and 2 together. I mean, fucking Cullinane barely put 2 and 2 together eventually because Coleman was just like, yeah, it was an MP4, and then moved on real quick from it. Because I think at some point they were like, what the fuck are we doing? And Gus did touch on it real quick, saying my upload speeds weren't great. And Kirk's like, well, why didn't you go into the studio? Guess what? Nobody's upload speeds are going to be fucking good if you're uploading 7 hours of visual.
Yes, exactly. So that's another one of these 1,000 little cuts you're seeing that they're formulating here. It's like, these are natural producer skills that they should have and know. Like, look at Gig. Gig made one of these bullshit YouTube shows, and he knows the difference between what they're saying is it's the wrong brain process. It's the wrong fucking brain process. I'm here to say if they need me any day this week, I'm available, except for tomorrow. Give me a fucking time. But their processes are kind of getting screwed up. So Gig, I'm kind of trying to build a timeline of this thing. So we're in November now. November we had another big thing, Black Friday, which they knocked out of the park.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
They crushed. And I'm not going to sit here and say I was sitting there saying there's not enough shirts and let them have shirts to do what I don't care. None of that matters. They knocked it out of the park. Their content was good. It was smart. It was thought of. It looked like they had a process. Done. They did great. Kirk was proud of them. Everyone at Barstool proud. Whatever. November leads to December, and now we're coming in off a great job they did. These processes are still building poorly. This is how the Titanic sunk. Just flow with me, baby. So all these, Carm said it was an iceberg. All this shit is building up, and December hits, and now everyone's kind of taking Gus out of that honeymoon phase. They're taking Gus out of that honeymoon phase because he's the easiest to kill. He's the easiest one to just fucking cut off.
Which he's there for.
He has to understand, you're going to be the first one that falls, right. But if you're doing a good job, no one can knock you down. Done and done. But we're coming into this phase where Gus is kind of starting to get the brunt of it. And we're really peeling back the onion on Gus's laziness, Gus's lying, Gus's video games, blah, blah, blah. All these things are starting to come out. But if you take another fucking peek behind the curtain, it's Coleman's also really not where you would expect Coleman to start taking some blame here. It's well, Gus is your responsibility, but he's still he's not. He's a kid though. We all have to remember that he's a fucking kid. I'm fucking almost 10 years old. I think I am 10 years older than this kid. So it's is it my life experience that's telling me to do that, or what do you think, John?
Yeah, I think it's life experience. I think as much as if you look at the way the two act, you could say, okay, it makes sense that Coleman's the A producer and Gus is the B producer, just on kind of their personality alone, the kind of the weird stuff that Gus does. But I think at the end of the day, when it's them two, I wouldn't be surprised if Coleman still feels a little weird being Gus's boss with the age dynamic.
Doesn't matter. All right. Once again, that was just completely biased and I just snapped. Okay. Sorry. It does. You're right. You're right. I don't know if Coleman has that figure, but it's like, it doesn't matter.
Oh no, I totally agree with you.
Manager and me just
get over it. He hasn't done anything prior to this that would give him that experience.
Yeah, exactly. And he's he's once again, he's a kid, but it's like, I got a job way too big for me as a kid before. And trust me, the whole world didn't get to talk about the ending of it because it's like, I didn't have that lucky of a fucking position. So it's got to happen, one day. So November comes in, Gus is starting to get this shit storm coming at him. And a lot of this talk at this time was like, Gus brings nothing to the show. And I really, once again, disagree with that. I think at this time it was like Gus was coming with shit, and this whole time it was his time to shine when it comes into this best of. Like, he should have been formulating that all December. Gig, you know how long content curation takes. Like, you want to go a little bit on that?
I sure can, but the fact of the matter is, and I don't know why this wasn't, I mean, Ziggy Robinson nailed it. I mean, a lot of this content was already done. Mm-hmm. Okay. There was a lot. I don't know how many months was done already. 5, 6 months already done.
Yeah. Well, they only had 2 months to do. So 9 months. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of this, like if I was Coleman, and I think you guys are totally right. He's young. I also think that Coleman might have a tough time because Gus has more experience in the world than he does. Right. So Gus has been around.
I would question this.
I got to come back to that.
Okay. Actually, yeah, go ahead, Gig.
So I think that had I been Coleman, and I think this is an age thing, I'd be like, look, fucking, there's already 6 months done. We're going to fucking use that. We're going to use what we already have. So now all we have to do is we have to concentrate on this chunk of time. Okay. I take 3 months. You take 3 months. Here we go. And I would, real quickly, before I forget this, moving forward, I'm sure that these guys are going to be archiving daily. They're going to be cutting stuff and archiving for 2024 best stuff. And I would encourage them one step further that they qualify their fucking clips A, B, and C. Because some shit's because they're going to get to the end of the fucking year. They're going to have 15 hours and going to be like, what's the best of the best?
You're dead on beside the point, though. Continue on.
What else is new? Right. Yeah. I'm not sure where I was going with this completely, but
the content curation. You're just saying,
yeah, it takes time, but they had things at their disposal to fucking utilize that they didn't. All right. And therefore, also with the time goes back to MP4 versus MP3. You can upload an audio file and just like that.
Done and done.
Versus a fucking visual. So
they expressed that today too.
Some is Coleman's inexperience for sure, no doubt about it. But someone needs to fucking take the reins, and it's Coleman's duty to do so because he is the head producer to take the reins. Because I feel as though they might be doubling up efforts too. I feel like if Coleman's going through the news the day before a show, and Gus is going through the news the day before the show, and neither one of them knows what each other's doing, that they could be doubling efforts. They could show up the next day and be like,
and I want to bring this up here. Up until this point now, we're in the beginning of December. The best of is just a thought in our mind for something in the future. Who's to blame more for this fuck up at that time? You have to ask yourself that question. Where is your mindset at? Who's to blame that this wasn't already being done at that time? John.
I think, I'm a chain of command guy, so I think it falls on Coleman. With that said, Gus, if we're going to talk about him,
we're not at the point where Gus took responsibility on the air.
What's that?
So this is before Gus took responsibility. Like, the best of is my baby. I'm going to work on it. So everything before that, basically.
Well, I still think like if Coleman understands that at the end of the year you need a best of, then he needs to be thinking of that ahead of time. Even if Gus steps up to the plate and goes, hey, I kind of want to quarterback this project. Coleman still says, all right, well, here's the deadline.
Mhm.
Here's how we're going to work it. I need to be in communication with you about A, B, and C.
Okay.
Let's have it ready for X date. And even if Coleman says, I want it ready by the 30th or the 29th, that's where Gus steps up and goes, oh, I've been through this before. I know that Minifans are going to want it. We got to hit them on like literally the day after Christmas.
So I would say, once again, you're sticking sort of with the two producer, one responsibility approach really here. You're actually saying it's not Gus or Coleman's fault. It's still the fact that they aren't working together's fault.
You could convince me that's where I'm coming from. I think, yeah, they need to communicate. Like, you have to communicate at the end of the day. But I do fall in the chain of command. Like, what's the point of calling one an A and one a B?
Thank you. This mindset alone has frustrated me since day one. Just simply because, like, first of all, we're free human beings. We don't look down on people, period. A and B makes them sound like shit. It's like you're both responsible for making a very great product. If B isn't acting like A, and if A isn't making sure B acts that way, then we have a fucking issue here. And I think there was a lot of A making sure B stayed in B's fucking spot. You know, and I don't
like nice to actually step on each other's toes.
And yeah, I'm saying this with all, like, I respect these guys. They did a great job up until this.
I'm with you.
You know, and it's like at a certain point you have to ask, is this what type of human you are? You know, it's like you have to ask yourself that. You have to be more responsible than this. And up until Gus taking responsibility, whose fault is that? Are you saying one person's? Are you saying both of them? Blah, blah, blah. Now, we get to the point where Gus takes responsibility. This is after, now let's look at the timeline, the honeymoon phase, and now Gus coming out of that phase. Coleman's still in this phase, and I'll go on more, but I think he's somehow in Kirk's eyes still is. Gus coming out of all that, and now shit's hitting the fan because people are saying he's not doing his job in the meantime. Now, this is where I think the dynamic would have fixed this problem, because Coleman tells Gus, okay, you're taking full responsibility. We're going to start doing things like John said. On this day, I want it done. This whole time throughout, I'm going to check in because I'm a responsible adult and I don't want my product to be shit. And it takes a period of time to make this product, right? So where's your mindset here on Gus taking full responsibility and then the product you were given, Gig?
Well, first of all, like I think more of the blame should have been on Coleman personally. Like I really do. And I just saw that Don the Jeweler just said that the best of clips were done through July. So there's 7 months. There's 7 months done right there, right? Mm-hmm. So all the boys had was what Coleman essentially has lived, right? Mm-hmm. Almost. I mean, when did the producer search start?
I believe the end of like August, like the middle of August.
There you go.
After
it's weird because I look at Gus as the color commentator, if you will, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's Coleman is more of your typical producer guy. He should be the one pulling the news stories, much like Steve Robinson did. Gus should be in control or in charge of something colorful.
Yeah, something colorful, something bright,
colorful. That's why he's there. Gus shouldn't even be looking up news stories and stuff like that. I mean, it's easy to share. Be like, hey, Kirk says, hey, Gus, what do you have? Be like, okay, the next news story. Hey, have you heard this?
Yeah, I don't care about Gus's alt-right fucking opinions. I don't. Gus's goddamn stories about fucking that Kennedy deal. I don't give a shit. But
so I think it's pretty easy. Like, there just needs to be like responsibility needs to be delegated to themselves. They'd be like, okay, I'm going to handle this, you handle that, and let's see how it goes. And if we suck at it, then we're going to have to switch something up. But right now, like, I feel like they're probably, and look, these kids are just getting going, and I get it. They're going to have some growing pains and shit like that. And we're just here trying to fucking make you guys better.
Oh yeah, you're lucky we're here, because I'll tell you what, I know that they said that they should be fucking, I have it written down, they should be here. If they want to rebuild back fucking the fan base, I would have came here. I don't care. I don't care if Kirk told me I couldn't be here. I'd be here fucking at least trying to justify my actions, and then let you get, like I would be here. That's me.
I saw someone, maybe Penners just commented,
That's a good point.
Yeah. Penners was like, he said that he doesn't agree with the suspension because what the fuck do they learn? And I'm kind of like on that, like if like I know Kirk maybe was joking around when he said neither one of you guys are going to be fucking doing any of this shit next year, or you can forget about having anything to do with Portland. I would fucking put more fire up under their ass, and I'd give them even more responsibility.
Well, yeah,
make them fucking step up.
I was going to have a rule that we can't eat during at any point in the show. Just tie to be like, well, it actually is Kirk's fault that is they like. I am in the agreement that like it comes from the top, but I agree with you on this. Like I will blow past that opinion and hold like I think I would have held them to the fire harder after this. I would have been like, no, you're not taking a week off. You're not getting a week off now. You know, it's like you better. We're doing 5 shows a week, and there better be 4 clips on socials. There, you know. But once again, this isn't Kirk. Like Kirk is doing. He's doing fine during this. It's giving us shit to talk about. So I don't give a fuck.
Might want to think about doing something during their hiatus.
Yeah. That was going to be my question. What do you think they should be doing during this week?
I got a couple ideas.
Okay, there you go.
We heard.
Let's like. What do you think? It should be more of a social base. Do you think it should be more of leaning into the network, leaning into their own the Kirk Minahan network, YouTube? What is it? Their own socials? What do you think?
I think they should kind of stay away from Twitter. Like maybe like just stay away from the tweets and like fucking surprise us. Like do something funny, and fucking put some effort into it and surprise us.
Like drop a little co-project, a little video, skit video, something like that.
Yeah, a little something, you know, like get creative and fucking give us the funnies so everyone.
I mean, I think if they come back from the suspension with nothing, that's a whole other ball. I think that snowballs into something else. Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
You know, a big thing on the old Twitter machine was are they going to take this week and hand off responsibilities to other people, and are they going to do it that way, or are they going to take on these responsibilities of their own? And if they are handing it off, it's a dumb idea to hand off their responsibility. And I don't mean use their resources. I quote tweeted, and it was KMS quotes. I quote tweeted and said, using your resources is the best thing they should be doing right now. How do you guys feel about that?
In terms of what?
So let's just say cutting clips for socials, cutting or running a social media. Should they be where should they be right now? Should they be leaning on the people that could create it for them, or they should they lean on themselves and take that? Go ahead, Joe or John. John.
I think they need to get involved. But you said something earlier. Despite what Kirk says, get involved. I do think they should kind of take charge. Get on the network. I think you got to do some kind of video aspect. There needs to be some sort of we're in on the joke. But at the same time, maybe like you have to make fun of yourself. And it's a tough angle, but also say like, I'm obviously taking the suspension serious.
But making content in that I don't want these two looking at this like they have to go run and tuck and tail and hide during this.
Absolutely not.
Because Kirk's gonna have this opinion where like, oh, they were out there trying to gain sympathy. Fuck. He said they need to stop thinking what Kirk is gonna think and just start acting from instinct. I think because they have that dark cloud over them. Well, Kirk's just gonna make fun of me for it anyways. It's like, bro, what we like about this show is when Kirk's making fun of you guys for being you. You know,
nothing is more funny than being self-deprecating.
Absolutely.
That's what I was going to bring up for this, John. John, like that's what is making that content is what we want to see you doing to be more responsible. You know, that's not the opposite, which I think in their mind right now they think the opposite. You know.
Yeah, I think so. I think there has to be some sort of like them making fun of themselves about the best of.
Yeah. Something even I'm not going to sit here and even say what's a good idea because it's really up to them. But it's like we better see it. It's like if you're still in the thinking process at this time, you're already behind the 8 ball. So it's like that really needs to, I think, be taken seriously right now. Do not
show us that you can do content together. Like it does kind of seem like it's 2 separate entities, just like running on like 2 separate train tracks. Like collaborate, do something, like come up with an idea work on it together, try to be funny. Like you said, John, who gives a fuck if it's not that funny? Like,
Dude,
at least
I
you're
do
trying.
things that are not funny every day, all day, dude. And I put it on camera, and I like it's. I am a blast them in the face with everything you fucking got, and if they don't like it, fucking walk away, guy. So it's like that. That's what you got to be, I think, with this show. I don't. What about you, Gay? Do you think that's how they should be, or should they be more?
Well, I think like like I'll say it 100 times. Like I obviously. I've been known to make a Photoshop or two, and sometimes like some of them are really shitty, and I love the term "so bad it's good." So there's like, you can do stuff that is not necessarily the funniest stuff in the world, and then it ends up being fucking hilarious. It's so bad it's good, right? Yeah. So they need to like, it was kind of sad because both of them kind of looked like a cat covering up shit today. They're like fucking,
but here's.
Fuck. What are we gonna do? We're fucked. And I really wish they would have been like, you know what? Fuck you, Cully. You couldn't even go get your own fucking stage, you loser. Yeah, fuck you, Justin. Be like, you got these two assholes judging us. Like.
I wanted Coleman to go full heel, man.
You wanted Coleman to go full heel?
I really did.
Oh, how? Tell me more.
I think he's got it in him. Like, I mean, sure, he had a couple drinks on him on New Year's Eve, and he was telling Mayo to shut the fuck up. But if he brought that energy today, I think it would have been a little bit better.
Master Coleman energy. That's what
maybe
Master
so.
Coleman
John
energy.
from Warren's advice to Coleman: drink more before the show. Got it. No.
right.
I agree in the fact that maybe a little more fire from Coleman or say Gus today would have made a better show today. But I think the answer to all of our problems would have been, I don't know, if you guys had any ounce of strategic instinct in you, you should have been working together. Because like the one day they should have worked together, I think they tried and it didn't work, because that's what you get the first time two people are trying to work together. It's like, well, fuck that, dude. I don't even really kind of know.
They started off working together. They started off with Coleman staying at Gus's house.
Yeah,
they went to the Comic Con together.
That whole time, I don't even think Coleman really wanted. I don't know. Like, you could hear it in his voice. I don't know if he like trusted Gus's take on what, like, he was taking his "I need to guide the content of this show" seriously, and he didn't trust it. I don't know. That's my opinion. But and you're right that it looked like they at the start they were doing everything. They went out together, but did they become more friends after they went out that night? Like, dude, I usually end up at 4 a.m. in those people's fucking apartment. Like, you usually become boys with those people or friends or blah blah blah. It's like, I don't know.
John, yeah, because you're doing it over a fucking 8-ball.
Yeah. I mean, that's what that's in, we become boys.
It's really easy to become boys when you're blowing lines, bro.
Yeah, and to all the people saying I had done a better job there, that's just think of that before you say it. All right, so we're coming out of this Gus taking responsibility, and big things were said during this. Gus takes responsibility because he's taking responsibility of not doing anything with the show Twitter over a week of them over Thanksgiving or whatever. They're both taking account and responsibility of no content coming out when they don't have to see each other every day. Okay. Now, this is the first time you see that this cancer that has been building between them is obvious and evident. And I think that's where Gus said he started or was already making content. Now, if you're looking at this timeline, it's like, how can he be telling the truth there? If you were at that time making this content, you're either bad at this or you're lying. John, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, he's fucking tough to read sometimes, because there's been a few instances where people are pulling it out on Twitter of like, oh, Gus mentioned he's working on the best of at this point. He brought up at Papa Gino's. It's like, all right, well, where's the product? And then when he says he's making this and he says he sent it to Coleman when Coleman asked for it,
I believe that, though.
So do I.
This is why I think a lot of blame is on Coleman, because it feels like Gus is covering up the fact that Coleman gave him orders and he followed them to the T. And Gus is like, well, boss, you told me to do this and everything be fine. And it's like, no, dude, it went to shit. So how does Gus feel? It's like, well, I can't point the finger at Coleman. Or at myself. I did everything I was told. And I think that's where people were trying to sift through if these two are even working together.
They're not. And here's the other thing. So Gus submits his half to Coleman, and it's already 7 hours long. So was Gus's expectation that Coleman was going to shed that down?
Can I give, I'm going to answer this question with my belief and opinion on this fact. 15 hours for a best of is a dream come true. I would love the fact that it's 15 hours, but you can't release it 15 hours. If they spent this week doing 3 hours a day for 5 days, Minifans would have had content all week long. We would have, it would have shown responsibility. It would have shown of organization. It would have shown dedication to 15 hours of content. Thank you guys. Me and Gig have made episodes. We know how long an hour takes, let alone 15 hours. Luckily here, they had a lot to use to build the house already, but it's like they had the foundation drawn up, got all the building parts, and then we're just like happy home living. See you guys later. I hope you like your bedroom that we didn't build with anything. And it's just a bunch of supplies sitting there. And there you go, 15 hours. And then they had to start uploading it. And the 8 ball's already behind them because at some point last week, the Minifans turned. And guess what? That's how the fucking tides turn. So it's like, and this was mentioned on the show today. That's the point they both started to panic, is the point that I panicked. Because I was like, that's where you were worried? I was like,
you could just sense it. You could just sense that they weren't ready.
Well, it's like if you have, once again, this goes back to Gig's theory about the MP4, MP3. My brain instantly goes to the fact, well, okay, not only are we behind, we're another day behind that because I need to upload this. So when I'm done and I want to go on Twitter and say I'm done, it's done, you have to now upload it too, you know?
Not even close to being done.
Yeah, and you're not, you can't even consider it's the production of it is done.
So this is something I've put some thought into, and I'm going to use Mamma Mia as an example.
Mamma Mia!
Even though it's old. So okay. Mamma Mia's, that whole bit, that show, that the bit was almost the entire show, right? So, I mean, it kept on going on and on and on and on and on. Probably that whole bit, if you were to go back and listen to the show, was an hour.
Okay.
So how do you, and this is kind of in their defense, how do you chop that up? How do you edit that? I mean, Mamma Mia, that's still one of my favorite bits ever. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, this goes back to how this is in the weeds producer stuff, but your brain has to organize things in A, B, and C. Like this is an A clip, but it's an hour long. Okay, I have to spend my time to break down an hour clip because I can't put out. So now you're going
out that space in between stuff. And
not even, it's like if a conversation about a main topic is good, but there's 14 sentences in between there that just really could be cut, you're cutting that out.
Right, you got to deal with it. You got to do it.
If it's an A segment and it's 20 minutes long, you're not going through that clip. It's fine. Just put the whole 20 minutes in. You know, it's because it's 20 minutes of a topic and over. Whereas I'm not going to now sit through an hour long of a topic on a best of that there's 100 more topics to get to. You know, so I'm going to break that hour down to 15 minutes of the juice. Really.
Yeah, I'd wear that shit like a badge and be like, I just took an hour-long bit and I turned it into 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, that's what
wear it like a badge of fucking courage.
That's what producing is. That's why when Kirk asked them, "Oh, you didn't even listen through that bit," he's right to hold them accountable for not listening through stuff, but he doesn't have the mind of a producer. If there's a 20-minute bit that you consider an A bit, it's all going in there. I'm not listening to that. I listened to it. I know it's fucking A shit. I know it like the back of my hand. I'm not re-listening to that. So he's right to say them not listening to it. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's dumb. That means you don't care. He's right and he's wrong with that because there's parts that you don't need to re-listen to, but those hour-long clips that are good, they just put them in there and that's wrong. And that's why he's right. You know?
Yeah, and I think Justin was kind of getting to that point too.
Justin did great today.
Justin was
just like, that's a lie. Everything was a lie to Justin. He's fucking lying. Everything's a fucking lie to Justin.
Also, I just need a quick aside. Like this whole thing was almost like the doors were almost blown off.
John, fat guys are allowed to wear shorts. All right, buddy. It's no, I'm kidding.
Dude, fat guys are allowed to wear shorts. There's zero chance that Dave stopped peeing halfway through. Like, why would you even say that?
Kirk seeing through the veil of fucking TikTok Dave was beautiful.
It's like they're just sitting there in a room full of fucking liars, dude. It's
Stopping
like, what is everybody lying about?
Totally how you give yourself dick cancer. I'm convinced of it. Like, you can't just fucking cap it off. That is you are getting dick cancer from that.
Okay, so now we get to
fat guys wear shorts all the time because calves. That's why.
We get those calves.
Moderately less fatter guy than I used to be.
Show these bitches something to climb on, right?
I thought nothing of it when you see Justin in the shorts. You just shrug your shoulders. You're like,
yeah, I know. It's like, well, obviously he's warm.
DJ's the same thing.
The thing I'm worried about is Justin's indigestion. Okay, so let's get to the end of this timeline. Okay, the last 4 days, the Twitter shitstorm is the end of this timeline. Shit hits the fan. Gus has taken responsibility that the best of is mine. I'm going to have this thing out. And these last 4 days were supposed to be filled with Gussie content. I hear that was the day they freak out, because in my brain, it's like, well, shit, this would have been the day I would have had this out. You know, it's like, once again, I probably would have overslept and it would have been a disaster if I got this job.
And meanwhile, Coleman's on like Rock and Roller Coaster.
That's okay, dude. Family's family. You know, I will never hold the kid being with their family against him. It's just like, I do hold the fact that you didn't take the time at your family vacation to make sure your dream job was complete. But I'm never going to hold the fact he was in Wonderland fucking against him, dude.
John, that's not the problem. And I know this has been said before, but you have it completed before you go on vacation.
Yes.
Because why do you want, you can't have fun.
But we have to remember where they were.
In the back of your
mind. Think of the timeline. Coleman is going to Disneyland it's not even a question. It's going to be done because of that cancer. That was great. The communication, the responsibility, the accountability, none of it was being built because of that timeline. And well, go ahead. It's like, yeah, he's in Wonderland. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure on the show today, he said, my plan was while I'm away, I'm going to edit some clips. I think that planning is poor to begin with. Like, why would you set yourself up to be working wherever the fuck he was?
Well, that's why I wanted to do this episode like this. We know why. We actually have that answer why, because nothing was done before. You know what I mean? So the accountability and the responsibility just were not there. So that's why it's so easy to answer these last minute questions. It's like, well, if we look back, it was evident. It should have been right in front of us. And it sounds like Kirk at Papagino's heard Gus talking about it and sniffed it out perfectly. But it's like, where is, at that point in time, where does your head go if you're the head producer gig? Getting out shit fastest or giving the product you expected to make?
Well, you know damn well where it is. You're just watching the fucking spinning wheel of death at that point.
Yep. Yeah.
The work is done, and now it's just rendering, and it's taking forever.
Yep. Let alone you might get something wrong, like 20 seconds of audio.
It might crash. Yeah. Or you might, your computer might take a total shit in the middle of a 6-hour render, and you're like, oh, fuck, I have to start this all over again. So, I would love to know when they started uploading everything. That's what I'm really curious.
Asked them that, though. I think, didn't they ask them that? So it was the 28th they started uploading everything.
I think he said that.
Yeah.
Did he say that? Okay. Yeah.
Which, and if we go back, it's like that. The 28th would have been 2 days after I would have done at the day after Christmas, episode 1, 3 hours coming out. Episode
Especially
2, 3 hours
divided into thirds, or they divided it from January, February, March, and April, and that was done. Those 4 months you could have just used the best of that was done already for you. And then you have to
also remember, while it's like, the best ofs were done the 9 months up until they had to make this. The other 3 months were also done by them. So everything was done. It's just curating.
They overthought.
That's what I like. When we'll get to like basically the end of the timeline thing, it's like this all boils down to their dynamic and their accountability was held to no responsibility, like nothing. Their dynamic ruined the fact that there could be no accountability because there's no relationship. There could be no responsibility because the people without a relationship don't talk. And there can be, like, at that point, how does creativity blossom? You know, I mean, me and Gig talk for an hour a day about a show we don't even have. Like, we don't even do it. You know, so it's like our brains are constantly creating content with each other because we have a great relationship.
Yeah,
And
I'd also like to add that, like, you know, less is more in a situation like this. And, you know, if they had come out with the best of, like Duck did, Ducks was what, 2.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to have people like, well, you should have had this part in there, or you should have had that part. That's great, because you just created dialogue that people can go back and forth about.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Creating content. And like, so that was one thing, but that's also something that comes with age, to like realize that, or it comes as like being an artist or a musician or something like that. It's like, yeah, sometimes you got to know when not to play.
That's very true. Well, like that comes with profession, like that comes with experience, but like the 9 months of stuff you can say could have been like, that's where they would have had to put their nose to the grindstone. But the experience of the 3 months that they're there, they should know like the back of their hand what content from the last 3 months is going in there. So done and done. You know, it's like the organization of this all was just, and remember, it's like everything before it, like no one takes the best of. So I didn't even listen to it. I don't fucking care about the best of. It doesn't matter. It's like this, you have to treat everything in this world seriously, because when it breaks down, look at us. We're on an emergency episode talking about these fucking, you know, like we're serious about this, dude. It is what it is. It's embarrassing. Like my girlfriend's here. She probably thinks I'm a loser, but it's like, I don't know, dog. I love this shit. You know, so it's like, that's why we like it. If they're sitting there like getting mad at us, they had their mindset's fud. Like you're doomed to fail. But if you're sitting here like realizing like, shit, man, maybe that we and Gus do have to fix the relationship. I think there's hope for these two. If these two are getting further and further torn apart by us ripping them apart, then they're fucked. They're fucked.
I think there's hope for that. I think they come out of this stronger. Okay. I know it sounds kind of gay, but
no, it's cool, dude.
No, maybe if someone was to record themselves having couples counseling, that would be fucking entertaining.
That would be fun. Go ahead, John.
No, something I wanted to bring up and throw to you guys was, I feel like the suspension came late in the episode, relatively late in the episode. I would have liked if they got the suspension and then had to sit through it, because like that, I'm like, there's little things, like I don't like to be a manager of people because of little things, right? When I see Gus's body language of when he's getting yelled at, I want to smash him in the fucking teeth, dude. It's like, stop. Like he'll be in the middle of a sentence and they'll be like, it's like, dude, I would hit him right there. That's why I can't manage people. It's like, stop taking fucking response, like the compassion of like trying to squeeze it out of us, dude. It's like, dude, we're here to fucking crucify you. Just let us do it, dude, and then you'll rise in 3 days. It's like, just stop, you know. But it's, I don't know. I can't like fucking pick at the meat with that shit. So, John, up to you. You wouldn't have suspended him, though. It's what he had to take an action. So, like, that's the action that, like, is the softest, because he doesn't want to fire these two. It's like, dude, it was his decision to pick these two. They're still his guys. So it's like, this is the right move, but it's like, this isn't going to teach them. This isn't how they get better at their job, because they can now just tuck tail and run. And yeah, I think he had to do something, like big hugs, and then the same cancer is growing. It's like, I would have made them, I would have suspended them by making them sleep in the studio for fucking 5 days. And we already know Gus has already done that. Yeah, we already know Gus can do it. So sleep in the studio for 5 days, and there better be so much content, like so much content that there's 15 hours worth of it. What does Kirk Minahan respect the most? I don't know, Kirk Minahan. Consistency. Almost more so the consistency, though, is working your ass off. Right. Like that's what he like fucking nose to the grind and put in some work. So that's what those motherfuckers need to be doing right now. Mm-hmm. Under suspension. Fucking get to work, boys. Yeah. Get to work. Yeah, and it's like, and that doesn't mean we want you to think you have to do everything yourself. That means use your resources. Ask people for help if you need help from somebody. If you think someone has a fucking skill at something, like Gig making a Photoshop, ask him for it. He'll be fucking honored to send it.
He'll be honored. If you need an opinion from somebody, ask them. Lean on your Minifans. Gus throwing you under the bus for the segment you wanted to do with him today just made me so mad at Gus, because how he used it was an excuse to say it's okay, he's bad at his job. He's trying to use a gig to make content for the network. So what the hell? Kirk, you said it's okay. No, Gus, like that made me very mad. You know, it's like you can't say something like that when they're asking, well, what have you been doing? And you say, well, I was making content with gig for the network. That only hurts the network, dude. Because of course Kirk is going to say that's not as important, because it isn't. But it's like, right. Gig or Augustus, your only thing you were doing was working with gig on a segment for the network. Like I am a guy that pushes for the network, and I think that's dumb. Like it's fucking ridiculous. Actually, it's just,
you'd really think it was dumb if you've known how much we've talked about it.
Well, that's what I mean. I do know how much you talked about it to kind of peek behind the curtain, but it's like, it kind of makes more sense now while you had so much fucking time to talk to you about it.
It's even more fascinating. It went from fucking that to fucking getting in touch with Kennedy's fucking team. Like, I didn't get any farther.
Like I said, I don't care about Gus's alt-right opinions and his fucking red tie. What other kind of questions you got on your mind, John? I'll give my opinions a break here. Everyone's going to hate me after this.
All right, so Mick comes in, right? Are you going to be as annoyed as I am of having to read Twitter like, oh, this is what you should have done. Look how good of a job Mick's doing.
Imagine how much I've been getting tweeted at all to like John from Scranton to KMS and all this shit. It's like, dude, this is the reason why the thoughts in my mind why I didn't want this job, dude. The last one, but it's like, yeah, I will be annoyed by that. Like, oh, this is the way they should be doing it. But like,
you're gonna hear all that. Yeah,
you're making people that are saying that are making the people that are helping the show feel worse about the shit they're doing, and it's making the produce. I want to see it because I love chaos, but it's like anti-cloud.
What's up, boy?
Like,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you good.
That's okay.
Cane train.
But it's like that kind of shit. It's those are the, like when Kirk talks about the same 8 or 10 people on Twitter. It's like that's what the shit they do. Like, and those are my friends, so I can't talk shit. But it's like, I don't know. It's not. They know they're not being productive for the show. Like, you know. Right. Kane, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Hey, is John muted or?
No.
Oh, okay. I never heard him talking. It's okay.
Okay.
Hey, where do we put the blame for Kirk on this? I mean, don't we think that it was a little odd for a big time podcast to have a 23-year-old executive producer? I mean, at some point, like,
no, he was. I mean, there was a weird point in time where I tweeted this. It's like, what was Kirk's infatuation over this person being so young? It's like he needed it for a ritual or something.
Yeah, but I think he started off by not hitting him hard.
Kid. He wanted that young kid with no kids, no girl, no even girlfriend. Maybe not even like girls, and he wanted that person that was hungry for this show, someone that looks through the best of episode because they have nothing else to do. So that's why I trust his picking of a 23-year-old kid, because he wanted someone to make this his future.
Well, that, and he said countless times he doesn't, nothing with technology. He's not going to step foot in that arena at all. So
yeah.
like, you know,
you know about being 23.
Why? So Kane, what percentage are you giving Kirk?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's that?
What percentage are you giving Kirk then, Kane?
I just think like again, now he made a decision to hire him. I always thought it was odd that you paired a 23-year-old with Gus, who's honestly just a fucking idiot. And at that point, like, you have a guy he's 10 years older than him. I'm just thinking I manage people, so I understand kind of like having that dynamic where somebody's 10 years older than you and trying to manage them and do it's just hard.
I worked at Red Bull. I was a district manager, right? So I have 7 route drivers that are underneath me. The youngest one was 10 years older than me. It was impossible to manage those men. Even if I was the best at my job, it would have never worked simply because of that age dynamic. And it is something that's apparent. And if you don't take it by the reins from the beginning, it can get messy, dude, because like these guys would just be like, well, this fucking little idiot isn't right. You know, so it's tough.
How good was Justin today, though? That was wild.
Justin was
him alive.
He sure was. Joe, if you have any
congratulations on the show, John. Excited.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I just did it.
Starting?
I don't really even know. I was just trying to make people mad at Menners and just revolt against him. So I'm just doing anything I can, waving my arms. What Joe, that's what I was doing. Joe, yeah, if you have any good questions from the fans, bring them up. How would Steve and Dave have done? I can't read good. Could someone read these?
John, how would have Steve and Dave have done being anchored with Gus on the first 3 months of the job?
Dave would have done a hell of a lot better than Steve. Steve wouldn't have taken any of the bullshit, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think the show with Dave was the best show they did. I just think that Dave, it's pretty funny watching him up there after he fucking quit on the show for a whole year, running his mouth, just kind of.
I know. He comes in there cocking a walk now. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, it did. I have a note written down. Are we ready to admit that the case should be a two producers approach, and Steve and Dave should take it? Just saying. I'm just saying. I know the two producer approach isn't very famous right now, but I think Dave and Steve should knock it out of the park together.
Warden of the North says they should be putting together the best of Kirk shitting on the best ofs from the previous years.
Dude,
that guy never misses.
I mean, there is no greater content creator than that man right there. That's natural instinct. Like I didn't.
Does anybody know who he is? Like what he looks like and stuff? I have no idea.
No, and we once invited him into a group chat, and he left and made this video from like Red Dead Redemption of like this beautiful fucking speech he gave, and then he left the group chat. It was the most fucking cool thing I've ever seen. What other comments do we got, Joe? Any good questions? Sneakers was supposed to be here. Did he truly order? We didn't talk about the Charger debacle. Thank you for bringing this up, Penners. So the Charger debacle is something that just shows Gus's terrible instincts in the fact of why would he order this online?
Who doesn't have 100 of those fucking things within 5 feet of them anyway?
Also, how do you not know you need the Charger?
Well, yeah, it's like, dude, tweet that you need a charger. I think a Minifan will just help you out for a minute. Charge your fucking computer. It's insane. And like I hope this isn't a lie because people are gonna lean into this one. Like I could already tell investigations are going into it. Like quotes KMS fucking put out the fact that you can't get it for 2 days anyways. And well, it just shows like if you need something immediately for something you care about, I'm bringing my body right next to where it is. No matter if it's a girl, if it's a fucking charger, if it's anything, I take my body, whatever it has to get through, and put it there. So it's like, that's called love. So it's like, did you love this? Where did you have passion about this whole thing?
Just settle down, you fucking pervert.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. What else do we got? Have y'all addressed Gus Coleman or in opposite rooms? That's a good point, Hunter. It kind of builds on the fact that the relationship is shit. What do you think, John?
Yeah, absolutely. They need to be in constant communication. I said it before earlier in the show. There needs to be like a shared document. I don't care if it's like a Google Doc, an Excel, something. I mean, you could convince me you can just text each other, but walking in 10 minutes before the show, sitting in opposite rooms, and then barely talking to each other about where the direction of the episode is going to go. Like, for a podcast this big, how can you sustain that for a long period of time?
You can't. I could tell you, like you could tell the small thing, like when that was admitted, like the small questions I would have is like, these two guys really don't seem like they ever talk about what's going to be on the show. It's like, let alone if I was running that, I would make sure I stopped Gus from using timestamps as clips. like show him how to make a clip then. It's like,
I'm gonna say this right
after
now.
the first time, Coleman should have stepped in.
$2,000 for those text messages the last 2 days between those two. I'll put up $2,000 to see those things.
They're gonna release
those.
Yeah, that would be good. We if this was a real Warren Commission, we would be asking for the messages in between.
Oh God, I would love to see that.
But I mean, we would have to have a pitchfork in our hand and a fucking torch in the other. All right, what else have you guys got here? I don't want to make this a fucking 15-hour show.
Hey, what do you think about Kirk not like he knew it was going to go down at Papa Gino's? I'm just thinking as like a leader, though. Shouldn't he? I don't know. I guess it's like, did he really? He says he really didn't care about the actual best of that much, but like, shouldn't he have said something at that point? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? No.
This is none of Kirk's responsibility.
Find it odd.
This is none. Wrap it up, fellas. Yeah. I think we ran through the timeline. I think we tried to discuss where the blame is. I think we neglected or negated the fact that everyone could just be like, well, this is Kirk's fault. I think going forward, the biggest thing they have to work on is not production. It's not this. It's not the sound. It's not the cameras. It's becoming fucking friends. I think you guys agree with that.
We've given them
I don't
some
think
tools
I think
to
Gus
move
is just
forward.
lazy. I don't think that's going to change. I don't know how that fits.
Well, things like that, like laziness rises to the surface when that happens. So we'll see.
Sure.
If he's lazy after all this.
You mean dead bodies float?
Yeah, like dead bodies float. Lazy Gus will
Yeah,
fly.
it's one thing when you're 21. What is he, 33? I mean, I think this is kind of who he is, I
Yeah.
don't see much change in that way,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I like him, too. He's unique. But he doesn't work hard, They proved it. It's crazy.
I think everyone's in the same boat as far as liking these guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know.
No, they're great guys. They're great guys. They're like legit. Like I got to spend the whole producer show, race with them. I'm happy. These like thoroughly happy they got the job. These two are great two guys. Awesome. But it's like, I would love if you two had a friendship or a relationship or something, man.
Some sort of working relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like I wanted to go through the timeline because I wanted to see where, after we look at it all in the big picture, where the blame lies. And I don't think it lies on either of them. It relies on the fact that there isn't a both of them kind of a deal. They haven't worked together since day one. Gig, any other thoughts?
Nope, I've pretty much said my piece. They have to get to work, boys. Get to work right now.
Well, Kane,
Hey,
last thought, and then
before
we
you go, can you guys say hi to somebody for me?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
This is Lisa. Say hi.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
What's up, Lisa?
Show us the vial.
Right. Is that
Where's the vial?
Where's the
ashes?
vial?
I got
Yeah,
it.
where's the
safe.
vial?
Okay, it's safe. Okay, good.
It's safe.
Safe. Happy. Guys, good night. Good job, John. Thank you. Good luck, John
Thanks,
from Warren.
thanks, Joe.
See you next Tuesday
Thanks
at the bowling
man.
alley.
Thanks
We'll
to man
see.
for this episode. Thanks to Not Manners. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Still on. I think we're still recording.
Another tough day at work today. Stephen Kirk, think I suck. Throw back a few wobbly pops, feeling down on my luck. And the interns ruin every show. But it's still where we wanna go. It's Mike and the Minifans. 'Cause nobody had any better plans. You wanna be with DC and RA Minahan. The host can't see it's Mike and the Minifans. And nobody's seen real